Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of MS Gamers, and I'm your host, Ted Michael. I hope you liked last week's reviews and got a chance to try out some of the puzzle games I mentioned. I was asked yesterday, what does games have to do with MS? Games are a great distraction from some of the things we as MSers have to deal with. MS can, for some, come with cognitive issues. Research has shown that anything that keeps you thinking and memory circuits active can be helpful. So playing games can help with the cognitive decline associated with MS. And on with the show. With how popular superheroes have become in the box office, I thought I would review some of the games that have superheroes blazing their way to victory over their menacing arch-villain nemesis. The first game I'm going to talk about is Lego Batman Beyond Gotham. Start singing na 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 na, and people will immediately think, if not yell out, Batman, utter the words, and here we go, and the images of Heath Ledger's excellent portrayal of Joker clearly comes to mind. Similarly, if I tell you that there is a new Lego Batman game, your imagination can likely fill most of the blanks. The only surprises here are the narrative ones, and they're not really that surprising if you understand the usual Lego game wavelength. Lego Batman Beyond Gotham is a fun game in the way most of the Lego games smartphone are, but the series has pretty much exhausted all of its tricks point. If you're okay with that, you'll certainly get years worth out of the new levels, characters, suits, and jokes. As the title alludes, the game takes Batman and Robin far outside of Gotham City on a universe-spanning adventure with the Justice League and a few other surprising allies. Brainiac has brainwashed several lanterns to assist him with a plot to shrink the Earth, and our heroes have to put a stop to it. The resulting adventure feels like a Batman game and more like a Justice League game. But that's not really a bad thing. As with previous mobile Lego games, Lego Batman Beyond Gotham is based on a handheld version of the game, so you won't find any impressive open worlds or anything like that. Unlike the last couple of games, however, this version doesn't use as isometric viewpoint and limited lives, instead opting on going back to the standard third-person style seen in games like Lego Lord of the Rings and Lego Batman DC Superheroes. If you die, you simply lose some studs and respawn. Most of the action stages from the console version are in this version, though each one is cut into smaller chunks. You get two of the hub areas, the Batcave, the Watchtower, but none of the open world planets. As with the previous game, the focus is mainly divided between simple combat, platforming, and light puzzle solving, involving various suits and powers each character brings to the table. There's little challenge in any of it, especially since the game will fully spell out what type of characters you need at the press of a button. But it's good. Clean, mindless fun. The non-Batman characters feel a little less tacked on than they did in the previous game, opening up earlier and available more frequently. In total, there are 45 levels, with each one taking anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to finish, since essentially every stage from the console version is at least represented here. The story doesn't feel disjointed that way, like the last couple of games did. Granted, it's not a great story, but it is very silly, and I personally feel that's when these LEGO games are at their best. Rest assured, Batman learns a valuable lesson at the end of it all. The usual couple of control setups are available. You can use the gesture-based controls, which work well enough, I suppose. Or you can go with the virtual button route. The MiFi controller support appears to be a little flaky this time around. Some controllers are working, some are partially working, some are not. All the specific commands are a bit unintuitive and poorly explained, but it's not an issue most of the time. I found myself having to pull some weird twisty hand stuff whenever I needed to fire a ranged weapon using virtual button threatening situations. But generally, you can take your time and do what you need to. And even if you do die, it's hardly a big deal in this game. It's not all sunshine and roses, with a switch back to the old format though. The enjoyable Tony Hawk style goal checklist has been reduced to a shadow of its former self. There are still a few goals to shoot for on each stage, with character unlocks, other goodies, rewards for certain tasks, but most of the goals are boring: find X number of Y objects and smash them affairs. The interesting mini games that have shown up in it the last few games are here at least. There's a hacking minigame, shooting stages, and the somewhat pointless ones where you have to push blocks together in a prescribed pattern to build something among several others. The addition to the humor, the big draw here is the massive list of playable characters. All the important ones are here, of course, along with obscure fan favorites like Ambush Bug, the Grey Ghost. There are also some cool variants on some popular characters, such as Solar Suit Superman and Clark Kent. Some of the other cool variants found in other versions of the game, like Batman Beyond and Adam West Batman, are promised as future updates, but it is kind of disappointing they aren't in here from the get-go, the way they were in even the other handheld version. Still, with more than 100 characters to unlock, the use of the current version, you've got plenty to play around with for the time being. Now, I might be asserting things incorrectly here, but I feel like this game, unlike the other LEGO games, haven't had its economy jacked against the player compared to other versions. New characters are priced very reasonably, and absolutely no character or features are locked behind paywalls. You can buy the stud multipliers with in-game currency. Even granted, if you want to speed things along, the game will happily sell you some gold bricks, but you definitely don't need to this time around. Perhaps that's a peace offering for this version arriving so late. The presentation is, of course, excellent. The graphics are sharp, and everything runs fairly well outside of the couple of busy sections. There are tons of silly gags and cameos of sharp-eyed players to spot, some of them implemented with considerably more effort than I expected. All the characters are fully voice acted by plenty of familiar actors, and the Danny Elfman Batman theme and John Williams Superman theme are both here once again. The user interface is slick and clean, and the kind of souls TT Fusion have even seen fit to give us iCloud support, or iCloud and other clouds. Unfortunately, the old lack of mind level save bugbear is back again. So tread lightly if you need to close the app while you've got a level in progress. I suspect many people will be happy to see that Lego Batman Beyond Gotham has reverted back to the old style, and I think I'll go ahead and agree that it has probably the right call for this game. The loss of the open world doesn't hit the game quite as hard as it did Lego Lord of the Rings or even Lego Batman DC Superheroes, and its story and characters are fun enough to keep you entertained, even while you're doing the same old smashy bashy we've been doing the whole series along. DC fans in particular will have a hoot with its nods and winks, while everyone else can enjoy a decent, if not terribly exciting, action game. The next game I'm going to talk about is called Marvel Adventures Academy. Marvel Adventures Academy is another big city builder game. You won't have to worry about managing loads of resources and the population's happiness like you would in a game like SimCity or Civilization. And you don't have to worry about attacking or defending like you would in other mobile games like Clash of the Clans or Star Wars Commander. You're building your school on your terms, and the only thing in your way is how long it takes to get anything done. Well, that and Hydra. The game's constant needling for you to spend money. Things in Adventures Academy starts out innocently enough. Tony Stark and Janet Van Dyne show up to help Headmaster Nick Fury, and Pepper Potts gets things set up for more recruits to join the school and Shield's ranks. Before anybody else will show up though, you have to set Tony and the Wasp off on some quests. To earn in-game currency and experience, characters will have to perform any number of quests. Each character has a set of unique abilities, such as taking selfies or practicing magic. You'll have to complete the quests, which a turn can be used to unlock more characters, building, and you guessed it, even more quests. To keep you coming back at regular intervals and providing from burning through the game at an incredible pace. All of these abilities have time limits. While simple tasks like taking selfies might only take a minute of the Wasp's and your time, more complicated abilities like sending Black Widow to test her Widow's Bite can take an hour. However, you can speed things up by spending Infinity Shards, the second in-game currency Adventure Academy uses. This gameplay system is par for the course in city builders, and this is how games like Adventure Academies get you to invest actual currency. Both regular coins and Infinity Shards can be earned slowly, but by simply playing the game. But they can also be purchased in bulk through the game's store. It's not long Adventures Academy missions that you're offered a quest to actually buy more in-game currency. That quest is still sitting in my queue, where it will collect virtual dust for the rest of eternity. Soon, each of the characters at your disposal is given quests that take hours at a time, prompting you to seriously consider speeding things up just so you can enjoy more of the games faster. To say it's disheartening to be cut off from processes less than an hour into the gameplay, Adventures Academy is an understatement. Adventures Academy also restricts the number of characters you can use a building to do a given task, like studying at the archives, meaning many times you have multiple quests that require reading. You'll have to wait it out. It's a cheap way to lengthen the game, especially when tasks already take hours to finish. There's also the matter just how boring it gets continually sending the same characters on the same quest in a different purpose. Seriously, how many times must we make Loki dance to avoid a quest line, or have the Hulk practice yoga in the quad? There's also the small problem of having characters with nothing to do. Quests will always require certain characters, and sometimes you'll have heroes like Spider-Woman or Vision who won't have a quest to complete. That means they just wander around campus waiting for you to give them something to do. Though you can have them use any of their abilities at a given moment, unless it's tied to a quest, you don't earn any experience or currency. Even if the payout was just a few coins and experience, TinyCo should have had running characters through the motion be worth something. From a gameplay standpoint, there's not much else going on. You show up, tap a few times, collect your goodies for the quest at hand, then tap some more. You have no true control over characters, and the only thing that can actually affect is the layout of your school. That's all fine though, as there's all you should expect from a game of this genre. Would it have been nice? It would have been nice for TinyCo to implement more interactive for players. Sure, as it stands though, this kind of city building game continues to find tremendous success, so there's no real reason for TinyCo to divert too far off the beaten path. What saves Adventure Academy from being merely just another building game is the story and the characters. Adventure Academy is not all it seems to be. The Black Widow is doing her best to convince her classmates that Nick Fury is hiding many secrets. It's not hard for her to convince Iron Man, Wasp, and the rest of her friends that there's more going on, especially when the time fog reveals things like a smashed Iron Man helmet from the future. Students begin to question just how they all wound up at Avengers Academy and why they're also young. For this part, Nick Fury isn't saying much, but hints are dropped here and there that there's a large threat and mystery at play beyond Hydra being jerks. Adding such an in-depth narrative to a mobile game in this genre is almost unheard of. While other games in this genre have featured simplistic, overarching plots and smaller episodic timelines, Adventure Academy's strongest suit is its tight and constantly expanding narrative. What's more, it's actually good. The slower developing story is what keeps us coming back and furthering quests for all those characters. Without that big storyline tying everyone together, the appeal of Adventure Academy would be solely tied to its license itself. That's unusual. That's usually not enough to keep players invested in returning over and over again. Learning more about what Nick Fury is hiding and what Hydra is really up to at its rival academy has more addictive than opening the game for just a few more taps. Both the characters' design and characterization are incredibly strong as well. The hipper, younger versions of these characters all stay relatively close to their comic book counterparts' looks, but offer a fresh take on each character's iconic design. If you play long enough, you may even unlock the traditional outfit Iron Man, War Machine, and Wasp wear in the comics themselves. That's strictly for those folks playing the long game, however, as those costumes require very high level play. For those of you who don't want to change things up but want a more immediate reward, Van Dyne's offers new alternative costumes for purchase with in-game money. These aren't just skins either. The variant outfits offer different perks, even faster questing and new animations for abilities. It's all optional, but if you have the shards, they are worth investing in for the long run. As for the individuals' characters, the writing is enjoyable. Widow's inability to trust anybody, but constantly puts down everybody at the same time, makes her one of the best in the game. Tony Stark doesn't change much. As his teen persona, it's basically the same billionaire playboy as the more mature Iron Man. The interactions between all of the heroes are terrific and really help sell the alternative take on the Marvel Universe. Though every character gets his or own moment to shine, there's a nice quest with War Machine and Falcon that shows a side of these characters not often focused on. It's these little moments that make Adventure Academy worth plodding through. Oddly, for much of the hoopla has made around the celebrity voice cast, you hardly even get to hear anything of substance. Most dialogue is done through text blocks with character voice overs limited to catchphrases that repeat. As funny as it is to hear John grunt, "Stop tapping Hulk," the first few times it grows old fairly fast. The same holds true for everyone, but essentially David's Tony Stark trusts us. We get it. You're a genius. It's not like there aren't opportunities for these actors to shine either. There are numerous cut screens throughout Adventure Academies that spring up during key story moments. But like most of the interaction between heroes, these are text-driven moments. There are a few frustrations with Marvel Adventures Academy, but the strong design and story work almost make up for the game's somewhat punishing pace. As Adventure Academy is free to play, it requires a bit of patience or a willingness to invest actual money to get the most out of it. That said, if you're fine setting characters off on tasks while you work and then checking in on the game's progress during small breaks in your day, there's plenty to enjoy. It might take you a week to gain any real progress in the story, but that's just how it goes with many free-to-play builders like this. There's no real way to experience all the Adventures Academy has to offer in a short-term situation without opening your wallet. It's almost a shame that this particular incarnation of Adventures is trapped away in this mobile game, as there's certainly enough mileage here to get a comic story or animated feature out of this world. Tiny Co. and Marvel have done a nice job at developing Adventures Academy for this platform, though, and the continually expanding Marvel mobile games library shows that Marvel doesn't necessarily need to focus on consoles to provide interesting and worthwhile gaming experience. Marvel Adventures Academy is available to download on iPhone and Android for free. The developer provides us with in-game currency to use for a purchase for this review. The next game I'm going to talk about is called DC Legends. DC Legends is a squad-based strategy title for the iPhone and Android platform from Warner Brother Games. The game puts you in the audience of an unfolding DC story where the Manhunters have returned to destroy the Earth. But the Manhunters did not come alone. They have joined forces with Necron and his Black Lantern Corps. Your task in-game is to build 5 man and women cell teams that are comprised of a mix of DC heroes and villains as you try to stop 2 forces from totally annihilating all life in the universe. I think I oversold the game a little bit with the way I described the game's storyline. While it seems that DC Legends' narrative brings a bit of an interesting premise. The game's gameplay features, on the other hand, leaves a lot to be desired. The game follows your typical unit collaboration title, where you acquire heroes by getting their shards from quests or paying for chests with real money. The progress through the game, by going through the story, points where you not only continue with the game narrative, but also face off against waves of AI-controlled mobs in active time battles. Typical to mobile games that have instances as its main game progression system, you will earn stars when you finish an instant, depending on how many of your units survive the encounter. This will come in handy later, especially when you reach the mid-late gaming phase, as you need to farm rewards to improve and strengthen your hero pool. If the gameplay seems a bit familiar, well, DC Legends particularly uses the same game features from another title of the same genre, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. DC Legends copies a lot of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes gameplay features to the point it just feels like a reskin. Sadly though, DC Legends has less to offer than Galaxy of Heroes. That's saying something. Let's move on to the game's primary draw. Its roster of characters in DC Legends. Unlocking the various non-starter heroes would require some ingenuity and a lot of patience. If you're being a cheapskate and not wanting to spend a dime on the game, thankfully the game does make it a little bit easier for you to do that by allowing players to repeat the same map, either by using the Speed Force item that allows you to automatically finish one twice daily, or you play through the instant yourself. There are various ways for you to strengthen your heroes in game. DC Legends allows players to manually level up your heroes and their moves. The game also has the item system in place where each character has a dedicated slot in their inventory where you can put in character-specific items to increase their stats. These items can be acquired by going through instances. You can also level up the items level per character by completing their collection, which unlocks more stats affecting items later. Characters in DC Legends also get to evolve to their higher rarity versions of themselves. As long as you meet the required levels and shards, you can then evolve your heroes and villains to the next step version of themselves with higher stats, more useful skills, and a bit of a visual upgrade as well. DC Legends has not held back in terms of providing a robust roster of heroes and villains to choose from, and the game does present a really solid storyline for the game, albeit its presentation is a bit too reminiscent of Marvel's Contest of Champions, with the way the characters speak to one another to move the story forward. However, the game surely lacks anything else for you to spend your time on in game. And that brings us to the end of another episode of MS Gamers Hut. I would like to thank MS&Me Radio for letting me talk about my passion with games, and my listeners, who without you, I would have no show. Next week, I'm going to review science fiction and space games, anything from RPGs to puzzle games. Thank you, and goodbye.